Nice fish. Come on. This guy. It's already gone through one tank, and what we're doing is we're clearing a path into this back woods area so we can harvest some firewood and some logs. And you'll hear Bob back in there. I'll bring the camera back a little bit, I guess. We'll start putting down trees. But basically there's about 20 acres back here that's just gone kind of wild. And I have a guy who wants firewood, and I need firewood, and I need exercise. So in between hay operations, Bob and I are beginning to tackle this section of the woods. And what we're going to do is we're going to first tackle the dead ash trees and then drag them out to the landing. And then anything else that looks like it's either not going to be a log, which is a lot of trees back there, or right now something that can be burned this year for the fellow to buy for his firewood. It's coming out of there. We'll drag it out with a tractor. But we had to cut a path into the woods first. And I'm using this one because I got to carry it around and I'm getting old. And as much as I like to run my big giant saws, I need something light, but it has enough power to actually get some work done. So this is that 2014 562 bling saw that I built a while back with that little red barn pop-up piston and muffler mod, stuff like that. Runs beautifully. They all got to come down. All that stuff has to come down. The tree behind Bob, that one right there is going to be a challenge. Look at that widowmaker on that thing. So we got to get that one down. And then the soft maple right there is junk. It's got to come down.
Which one are you going to do first?
Don't know yet.
The holding tree or the leaning tree?
Yeah, and then this ash right here, that's going to come down. Another one in there, and this is, Bob has cut a road in here so we can get into these things and get them out. I think what I'm going to do on that is I'm going to cut the holding tree most of the way and then cut that tree and see if I can get it all to fall that way.
There is a lot of cutting to do just to get into, like, that was incredibly grown in there.
Yeah.
And there's a fair amount of work just to get to the trees. So it's prep work. I know real guys just charge through and do it, but we're not real guys.
Well, I mean, we could come down here with the tractor and a plow or the excavator, but why? You know, a little bit low impact. We may end up in here with the excavator anyway, making a road, but I think if I can pull it out with a farm tractor, that's more along the guys who watch this channel. Which I think, you know, we always talk about saws. And I think it's kind of interesting that today we're not going to be talking about saws so much. Maybe we will, but not so much. But it's about the work and who gives a crap about the saw as long as it works.
So, not a problem. I gotta walk up, get a drink of water anyway. Whereas everybody likes to say, now I gotta hydrate.
Gotta hydrate.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know, I just finished dehydrating.
So yeah, there's like cutting into like all the stuff that's gotta go. But I saw that and I said, oh, I know that's not gonna be allowed to stay. So
This is what we do for our retirement.
yes, I'm transitioning into retirement myself.
That's it.
So
This is what we're going to spend our time doing up here, killing ourselves for fun, cutting down trees.
and for all the stuff that I was doing, I don't think I made a cut bigger than 7-8 inches. You know, sometimes I just like to go back to the plain old saws that ain't screaming and making a racket.
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but
No, I'm not going to get into it either. But people are probably like, why is he running that? Well, that's because I felt like running it.
that's it. I think both of us came to the conclusion a while back that a lot of the hot saw thing and bling saw thing was about people trying to market or make themselves look a little bit better than the other guy, and it doesn't have as much to do with work as it does about rationalizing and then trying to show off a skill or something to sell or beat their chest because they bought somebody else's skill and have a couple of letters on their saw. But the only thing I know,
But once the chain's gone, they're all equal.
They're all
Throw the
equal.
chain.
well, all I know is this crap has got to come down. And what I care about is whether or not they get down on the ground safely.
Yeah, without landing on your head.
Yeah, and the rest of that stuff can just, you can just wait. So I think what I'm going to do on this is I'm going to face cut that way, the ash and that tree. So I'm going to have both face cut, and I'm going to do a little bore cut on that ash so it doesn't do that barber chair continuation. Because bore cutting pretty much gets rid of a lot of that. And then I'm going to release, I believe, this tree first, this one right here first, and let it start trying to pull the ash. And then I'm going to sit back and wait for a couple of seconds and then release the ash and see if it all goes in one mess. And the tree is actually weighted to go the other direction. I think I can wedge it over. And just see how badly weighted it is. We'll wedge it.
Did you use a tank of gas yet?
Yeah, I already did. Yeah, we're going to have to wedge that one. This one here is going to want to fall out that way. It may actually pull the that leader right with it. So when I do that, I have to sort of keep my eyes up because that'll come down and kill you. So let me get a face cut on that first. Let me start with that.
That'll start a lot of argument.
But we're out here, you know, I got to cut the stumps down to get the tractor over the top of them, or if I'm doing the logs, you want to cut as low as possible to get as much of the tree as possible, you know, like Matt. And oftentimes the side of that saw is like real close to the ground, and the root flares are almost horizontal, and all they do is get in the way. So I, for one, I like it. It's a lot of fun. But when I'm out here doing this kind of stuff, I'm probably going to turn around and get the other saw, because as much as it looks cool, that stuff is right in the way. You know, it's actually the second or third time I've run into that, but it's the first time I had a camera in my hand after fighting with it and having it come to mind. And as far as long bars are concerned, you know, you hear one guy, oh, you have to get a long bar because about the reach. Well, when I'm cutting horizontal on the ground, the only thing the long bar does is like a 24 is that you get further into the tree. So if most of your trees are more than 24 inches, you know, you need to get that bar.
I tend to grab these things, and I do kind of do this a lot. which is not really what they're for, but I kind of like lock in there a little bit, depending on what I'm doing, you know, on occasion. You know, so it's, to me, it's not a big deal. I get what you're saying when you get down low. So it does get in the way. On a 372, it gets in the way of the damn scrunch, the way that thing's lined up. So, you know, some of that stuff, there's trade-offs to it.
Yeah. So that's why I have one saw that has one on it, because it's really cool, and there's times where it's really cool, but it's not the solution to every problem, I guess is the point. I shouldn't be harsh about it.
No, you I'm not going to tell anybody you should or shouldn't have it.
That's correct.
You know, I don't, because that's, you know, it's my opinion, their opinion, everything's cool. You know, do what you want. And that's why there's two different things.
Well, I guess that's my point is I'm not going to try to tell anybody what's right or wrong either for their world. I don't know their world.
But I will say that within the so-called hobby enthusiast community, you know, the guys out west, there's a legitimate reason for this and doing that big wood on the hillside. I get it. But for a lot of people within the hobby world, this is all about style.
Yeah.
It looks, you know, the big dogs, and I know to some people, yeah, I want the bigger dogs, depending on the bark. I get it, but a lot of it is kind of a style thing. Technically, I still call that a demo.
That's a demo saw?
Well, I don't really intend on keeping it.
Yeah. Now I'm going to cut the stump. Bob's going to deconstruct this tree a little more, I think. Let's see if I can get right down in there and take care of that stump. Chain's getting kind of dull, but I don't feel like going up and sharpening it right now. Alright, the saw is hot. I wonder if it'll restart. This is that 2014 model, and they're supposed to have a hot start issue. I guess it doesn't have one. So I just have to make a little comment about bling saw and its practicality. And as much as I like that saw and I think it looks really cool, when you're working on the ground, felling a tree or doing a stump, look what happens to that full wrap handle. It gets all tangled up with the root flares, so you end up fighting root flares with that thing. I mean, if I was a few inches further up, it'd be fine, but when I'm down on the ground, it's in the way. A standard handle is a better handle. I mean, just look at that root flare right there. You just right into it. So it does kind of limit you on what you can do. You have to be a little further off the ground running that style of full wrap handle. And the other thing that kind of crossed my mind is there was a guy who is a big advocate of long bar saws, which, you know, to each your own. And the biggest reason for me to have a long bar is so I can reach across the whole tree. So like this one here, you know, at least a 24, but probably a 28 might make sense just because of the diameter of the tree, right? But the logic about reach doesn't really apply because I'm kneeling down on the ground. I don't care if I've got a 20, 24, or 28 when I'm doing those felon cuts, or in this case here, the stump cut. I'm on the ground anyway, so I'm not reaching over. It's not affecting how much I got to bend over at all, the length of the bar, for that matter. It just gives more weight that I got to deal with. So it's one of those deals where everybody has their own world, their own situation. Sometimes it makes sense to have a long bar, and sometimes it doesn't. I want as short a bar as I can get away with because I want as light a saw as I can get away with, because I'm not reaching down, I'm kneeling down, I'm on the ground anyway. So just food for thought for the guys who are pitching. You have to have a long bar, a Western style, full wrap, and these big giant bucking spikes, you know. It works really good if you have soft wood and big bark and stuff like that, where basically you're trying to keep the saw away from the tree. And of course that goes along with having a really sharp chain, so you're not having to leverage the chain at all. But like on this right here, this hardwood right here, no matter how sharp my chain is, I'm going to have to winch that saw through that thing anyway, you know. So a bucking spike helps me do that. And I guess the net is different strokes for different folks, and I'll never tell a person what the right way to be is. I'll just show you what I do, and you either like it or not, you know. Everybody has their own world, but I wouldn't be arrogant enough to try to tell you how to work in your world, but I kind of wish people wouldn't do the same to the guys out here who work like this, do the things that I do. So anyway.
Well, I was sitting here while he was going through that, unburdening himself of he had to get that out. And you know, my thing, I don't really have a dog in the fight here, and you know, I understand what you were saying about people that, you know, kind of want to lecture and this is the only way to do it. And it's like, well, no, there's a lot of different ways to do it. And, you know, the bar length is one thing. But I will say, you know, we don't really need to get into a West Coast, East Coast thing. But back when the 372 XPW, the original ones with the 51.4 millimeter top ends, you know, guys were buying that because it was, you know, the factory big bore and all that, you know, the low end torque it had. So the only way you could get it, it came in the box with the full wrap handle. That's the only way that Husky was shipping those saws. And the truth is, most of the guys, the real guys, not the, you know, the guys that think it looks cool, the guys that are working with the saws, 4 out of 5 of them really, you know, they cut the thing off. Or they would ask, can you change out that handle? And of course, you can't, you know, eat a $40 handle every time you sell the saw. And I didn't want a bunch of full wrap handles in stock. So yeah, there's still saws out. The guys were just cutting them off. So they were speaking with the hacksaw. So that's just another, you know, but these were like, you know, pro guys. They're, you know, tree guys or loggers, you know, they're working with the saws, not playing with them like we're doing today. And I knew I'd get drawn into this discussion, even though I was sitting here saying, I ain't gonna say nothing. But then I thought about that, and it's like, I thought a funny little addendum there.
Well, one of the things that I see is like even between Matt, the logger, you know, he's not gonna want a full wrap handle. He's made that quite clear. For the reasons that I articulated, he gets right down on the ground, and he wants a long enough bar to get through the tree, but he doesn't want to carry a big one around because he'll be out there all day long carrying a saw. So lightweight, enough power, and just enough bar to get the job done is his modus operandi. He's not reaching down for nothing. He's on the ground. He's scrumming like a rugby player working on those trees. So so-called reaching down, working your back easier with long bars doesn't apply. But conversely, I got a guy who's a tree service guy, and he doesn't work the same way as the logger does.
Well, I've been telling you that. They're totally different guys.
And I don't think he cuts them waist high wherever it's safe. You know, he doesn't care about that extra 6 inches of tree.
The other thing with the tree guys is, you know, we always tend to want to like more power, cubic inches, cc's. Oh wow, big is better. You know, and we're, you know, guys like us or in this circle might want to always look for an excuse to run a bigger saw. You know, the tree pros are always looking for ways to avoid having to pick up bigger saws.
Yeah.
You know, they want to run 16-inch bars on the 40cc top handles, and you know they'll do more work with a 346 or the 550 than you would.
Yeah.
They're looking at, like, just, you know, don't carry a heavier saw than they really have to have.
Yeah. Well, I guess to close off the point on the long bar and the West Coast style, the one tree guy, the tree service guy that I'm going to build one of these for, he wants all that. That's how he operates. He wants the big bucking spikes. He wants the full wrap. And Matt, on the other hand, if I couldn't give it to him. If I wanted to give him a saw like that, he wouldn't take it because, like you said, he'd have to cut it off to...
Well, here again, the tree guys occasionally are going to run into some gigantic yard trees like my friend Kathy there.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Matt's generally not cutting anything that big, you know, because there's no more timber that size, you know, laying in the woods. It's all been culled out. But then there's the tree guys can run into some gigantic yard trees.
Yeah. So the West Coast style saws make sense for him.
Right.
And he wants it because it looks cool, but it also makes sense for him. Bottom line is this, is all I do here on this channel is I'm just showing you what I do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not, you know, I wouldn't be arrogant enough to think I know enough about somebody else's world to offer my opinion on how they should do their business. I won't do that. I guess I would wish that some of the other guys would take the same approach, you know. Show us what you do, isn't that cool? And thank you for the knowledge, but don't assume that whatever works for you is how I have to operate, and vice versa. I'm not going to make that assumption. That's not how we are. So, anyway, that's really it for me on that. But I like that saw. But for what I was doing this morning for the last couple of days, as much as I like it, I run it because I like it, but it's the 565 with the standard bar and the standard buck and spike is a better deal for that. So, anyway, I'm running out of battery, thank God. Gotta let it get below that drawbar, it'll bend that thing like a pretzel. That's what we had to do there. So we can get around this corner. See all these trees here that gotta go? This is a good sized ash right here. It's a little more than this tractor needs to do, but I figure if I can get this one out, I can get them